Hello people, and welcome back to part 44 of the Noobs Guide to City Skylines. I hope you're having a wonderful day. And it is time for new content this week. Brand new roads have dropped and new content creator packs as well, you guys have seen. The video going up on the channel checking out everything new that comes with this large content drop, so please go check it out if you're curious. However, we are now back in the Noobs Guide, and I would like to use these new roads to develop a new high-density road network frame. So I have a vision in mind for Noob Yoke. I want another skyline to sit to the right of the airport here, which once that is complete, we will have a really long skyline, very kind of New York-esque if you like, which is appropriate for Noob Yoke, I guess. And yeah, once we have the new skyline in, it's going to be broken by the airport, and it should be pretty interesting, I think, as to what we can develop out here today. And I know that a lot of you guys do suffer with kind of road network structure and framing, so I'd like this episode to kind of serve as a kind of constant stream of consciousness as how I like to plan out these road networks and the thought processes behind them. So let's use all of our new roads today, some tram pedestrian roads in there too. Very excited for that. This is the best. This is a really good update, everyone. Otherwise, let's develop some high-density road network frames using our new road, shall we? So in today's episode, I'm not going to try and do too much editing. Like I said, I'd like it to kind of be like a stream of consciousness, if you like, as to how I sort of like to plan these larger road networks together. So over here, from our downtown road network frame, or current existing downtown at least, we have this big road that comes right down the middle, and then it previously just ended here. But now it goes into a tunnel, which comes under. So, for me, at least, when we're starting these sort of areas, finding a sort of arterial connection into the area can be really helpful, okay? Rather than just starting it from blank space, if you like. So, that's what I've done here. I'm also going to do the same thing over here too. For those that have been following the series, we do have some empty roads over here. So, I'm going to bring one over the hillside and far away, and then, of course, down into here. But I'm not going to start from that one. I am going to start with this bridge. So because it's a tunnel, I do want it to kind of come out of the ground as opposed to sort of emerging from the bottom of the earth, if you know what I mean with the tunnels. So I want to make sure we do a little bit of terraforming. There we go, that's exactly what I want. Let's simp back down here. I am using the industrial road purely because the tunnels look a little bit nicer. They have like these extraction fans on them. And a little bit kind of like concrete median in the middle. So that's what I'm going for, and we now have a tunnel that goes through our main landmass under the suburb, and then comes back out over here, which is going to be quite cool come the end, I think. So once I have this road in, I'm just going to go ahead and grab just a regular 4-lane road for right now, and then we'll sort of begin this high-density road network frame from the edge of this shape, if we like. Why don't we try and aim it for out there, I think. Is that going to be okay? I think it is, isn't it? I think I'm happy with that. Cool, everyone. So again, if you haven't seen all the new roads, please go ahead and check out the video on the channel. It sort of showcases all of them next to each other so you can see what they look like. But lots of exciting new options, it has to be said. So let's start out with some larger roads, okay? I really want to start to create something of a spine, if you will, okay? That's how I want you to think about it, you know? We want sort of a big spine road here. That's very much what I'm interested in sort of creating today. So with this in mind, I'm going to come ahead and grab this new 6-lane road with tram tracks, bus and bicycle lanes. This is incredible. Look at this. It's basically like Vanilla Plus roads have been added to the game. It's quite fantastic, everyone. So this is going to allow us to have buses, trams and cycling all heading into this new high density area part of the map, which is great. So simple T-junction. I'm just going to start drawing this down now. I'm going to come ahead by 30 units, that should be okay, and then I can probably use this actually as a place to actually place in a new tram depot, because we're going to be wanting trams today, so let's go ahead and throw that down there. Fantastic, wonderful. So now I've got a little T-junction, created my main sort of arterial sort of frame here, and now I want this to sort of start growing sort of out here into these spaces, okay? Cool, so we're going to be basically developing a new skyline for Noob Yoke using all the new skyscraper stuff from the content creator pack. Again, shout out to the links down to Instant Gaming down below if you want to come ahead and pick it up. Lots of fancy new towers to play with. We will get stuck into them next episode once we've done the road network frame. So we're going to bring this out by another 20 units now. Alright, and now I want to develop into, of course, the best new network there's ever been. The Tram Pedestrian Road, everyone. What a time to be alive. How nice is this? Oh my god. Just, yes please everyone. Tram pedestrian roads. What a time to be alive. This is Peak City Skylines. It's all downhill from here. It's not getting any better. This is ultimate happy egg. So I'm going to merge my tram network now, okay, into a tram pedestrian road. And I'd really like this to function, like we mentioned, as an extension of the spine. So now that we have this central spine developed, I'd like to continue to develop the road network with the bike lanes and the cars. So we're going to use this new fancy 3-lane one-way road with bicycle lanes, which is amazing. That's such a cool road. And I'm going to bring this out on a 45-degree angle from the bottom of the pedestrian road here, okay? So we're going to have quite a really wide, important junction for a lot of this high density. I want to keep this going longer than where I need it for right now, because something's going to happen here in a second. And then we also want to repeat that same measurement over the last side, which is 1200. It's going to be shorter than that, but we'll draw it out anyway. And now what I'd like to do is to align them parallel again, but maintain this kind of diamond sort of split that happens at this junction. So how we would do this is just to line up with a road guideline, or grid frame if you want to, of another existing network. Now I'm looking to leave about 6 tiles between the spine and the flank road, which is going to be this one here. So we got 6 tiles there, that's absolutely fine by me. Let's also repeat that on this side again as well. So we can come back in, that leaves us the 6 tile spaces. Now trim off this sort of excess network if you like. And I can now continue to draw up my one-way network, which is where the traffic is going to split away from the road further into this new sort of high density road network frame. Okay. So think about some public transport in your network frames if you are indeed playing along to build something like this using the new roads today. Pick out a method of public transport. It could be metro. Maybe you want to run an elevated sort of parallel metro line alongside this road and integrate metro stops onto it. It could also be train lines as well. It doesn't have to be trams, but I'm going for trams because this is the best. This is the best thing ever. This is Peak City Skylines right here. So let's come back into our pedestrian roads now, and let's sort of reprioritize the tram road if we like. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this finished. Let's go ahead and bring in a little curve here. See what we're like for sort of shapes and sizes. Let's go for... that should be okay, I think, right? Yeah, that's going to be good. So I want to bring off my tram road here away from the one-way network now. So now talking about sort of bringing the trams off the pedestrian road, we need to have a look at a new tram road. So we're also having cycling in the downtown as well, and there is a tram road with cycle lanes here, which is kind of tailor-made for what we want. So I'm going to use this sort of road here. It looks like an outer casing, if you like, that kind of holds in the road. It's a big arterial road that's going to flow alongside the beach here. And I probably want to bring it down to about there. And then I can see an opportunity now where I might want to use another one of our new tram roads. Why don't we go for... oh, goodness me, so much. There's so many roads. It's almost overwhelming, everyone, just as to how many new roads there really is. So let's go for the 4-lane road with tram tracks and trees. I'm going to bring this straight the way down here. And then that there is now going to complete my tram loop through my downtown area. So let's go ahead and get that hooked in. So already, as I begin to construct my main frames, I now have one completed public transport loop in here. Okay, so it's going to kind of serve where all the towers are. It will interlink with other methods of public transport, of course, to keep people moving around. And of course it can be expanded. I can maybe bring it down here as well if I want to and loop it back up. But for right now, it gives my trams a completed loop, which is what's important. Second up, let's come ahead now and complete this road over here. So the trams aren't coming down this way, so we can use one of the new 6 lanes that don't have the tram roads on it. So why don't we go for the new 6-lane road with median trees? We could go for the ones with the bicycle lanes. This is one of the new ones, isn't it? Yeah, so let's do this one. So we're going to align it to the road networks of these one-way roads here, because I want it to be parallel with them so it creates a happier connection coming back in. So we'll complete the one-way network there. Okay, so that's going to keep traffic moving nice and easily over this way. I'd then like this road to continue down through the downtown, where it's going to meet up with the airport here. So we know that I was going to put the cargo airport here, but I think it's just too weird to be this close to another skyline. So I think we'll do a separate airport build for a cargo airport. We won't make it part of the passenger one. But either way, we do have the airport here, so I'd like to definitely factor in some possible orientations with the road networks against an existing build. Again, it's something that you guys can do. If you wish, if you have an airport here, maybe you have a big recycling centre or sort of a huge suburb. Of course, everyone's city is going to be different, but, factor in some big arterial frames against major infrastructure, it's it'll pay off in the long run, especially with orientation once you start placing buildings. Let's go ahead and mimic this curve now. So we'll bring it up to there, and you can see that's just going to hook straight in. That's going to keep everyone nice and happy. And some beachfront opportunities down here at a later date as well. Very nice, this is all happy. Okay, so you can see now where these boxes are going to want to start completing. I'd also like to introduce some more public transport networks into the build, and this is going to be the small cobblestone pedestrian bus lane. So I'd like to bring this out on a little angle here. Again, look how wide and important. Look at this for like a vanilla junction. It's like so wide. Just wants that little bit of node control, doesn't it, just to straighten it out. But goodness me, just how far the vanilla game is coming, everyone. It's becoming significantly more powerful with each update, it would seem. I'd then like, again, just to orientate a pedestrian bus road here against the road line of an existing network. I'm going to bring it in down here. Now I'd know that I can maybe develop a custom bus plaza here now, which we will do, which is why we're doing this. So let's now sort of allow an entrance point for this to come back in with the pedestrian road network. Then it can come down here, and then it can rejoin the roads and then head back off into the city or further into this way. Okay, we can just develop a little bus network here that makes use of all these little bus lanes. So we'll see how it turns out. It shouldn't be too bad, I don't think. Okay, it's not a sort of bad concept right now, is it? Cool. So let's consider yet more public transport. Why don't we see what we can find? Let's go for some cobblestone again, and we'll switch back to a regular pedestrian street here. But again, I'm all about lining up my network, because you're just going to see, as you start lining them all up and piecing them together, you're going to start creating sort of just more layers of intricacy. Whilst also respecting road hierarchy as well, stick with your arterials, your collectors, local roads, things we've talked about before as we've sort of built and played cities. Okay, cool, so let's bring this one out here. So I'd like a big public transport building to be sat here, I think. So I'm not entirely sure of the positionings of this just yet, so I think what I'm going to do is actually come in with a wider road. We're going to go for the one with trees, and then we're going to have this link back through to another one of my arterial frames here. Then I'm also going to have it hook in back onto the one-way road as well. I'm just going to very temporarily place the asset. I'm pretty sure I want to go for the glass box transport hub. It's just a very modern looking one, and it's just nice. It's going to blend really nicely with all our new towers when we get them in here. Of course, this is from the Train Stations Content Creator Pack from Bad Peanut. If you don't have it, links are down below to Instant Gaming. Please do go and check it out. Okay, but I'm pretty happy with this. It's not going to be too bad. It does want a little bit more breathing room though, because I do want the ability to have a little bus plaza here. So I want to make sure that we have enough room for that. Cool, so I've chosen a transport hub, and this has now sort of changed my thought process slightly. So we can see we've got an elevated method of public transport here. Equally as much you could use another thing here. You could also use the bus monorail hub if you want another elevated public transport line in. Trains would work nicely in this regard as well, but for me, in this particular scenario, it happens to be metro, so that's what we're going to go with. I'm going to grab some metro tracks, and this now gives me the opportunity to feed a elevated method of public transport through the city, for which I can almost run as like a counter system to the trams if I like. So as the tram sort of comes down here and sort of services this area, I can perhaps factor in an elevated metro station with shops here, where I know I'm going to want to have a stop. So why don't we bring out just a temporary road frame so I can position the metro stop here without having to come back and delete it later. It's like that one should be okay there. Yeah, that should be okay. I think I'm happy with that metro station. Again, could use one of the content creator ones, but I think it'd be nice to use the plazas one. Don't think we haven't really used it yet, have we, apart from in ILOS? So let's just bring this network to a close now. Cool. So we've now got some elevated metro coming in to this part of the city. We can bring it over here as well and allow it to hug some of our new networks. Very nice. Okay. Again, starting to see layers develop now, which is something really important, I think, in a road network, especially when you're trying to develop sort of a high-density theme. Having layers can really, really help with that. Let's go ahead and get rid of the vanilla tree as well. We will do some road detailing today. During the detail, and time-lapse will swing through and sort of prepare some plaza spaces, bring in some cute little sort of road networks and stuff. It should be quite a nice time. Right, and then I'm going to use this as the end of the metro line here. I don't want the metro line coming out because we're getting a little bit close to the runway. We should be okay here in terms of heights, I think. The towers are going to be a little bit further set back, so it shouldn't be triggering any sort of aviation sort of anger, I hope. I hope not anyway. Cool. So let's go ahead and bring out all these train lines now, so we know that they have to be factored in. So bring them all out. And again, this is going to be something that kind of helps build the road network up as well, in terms of the fact that we've now got these sort of very big, obvious sort of train lines coming out here too. So we could cross them over here, equally as much as we could sink them down and then allow this to kind of become like a little bridge, which is probably the most appropriate choice in high density. And we do already have some rail crossings within a high density setting, although you can kind of see, it's not the worst thing in the world. They can be done, but you have to pick and choose exactly where they do happen, otherwise it can get quite messy. But I think in this case, the most sensible choice would be to either elevate the road or the rail, so put it under or over one of the other networks. So I think that is what we'll do, which gives us quite an interesting opportunity really with how the rest of the build develops. We could also bring a train line around here as well, in front of the park, and then hook it into this passenger line, because this is actually feeding the airport. So we do already have passenger trains here, so that could definitely be a connection we bring in. But we'll just find out. For right now, I just want to sort of remind myself that, there is to be trains kind of coming and going out of this part of the map. So we can remind ourselves of that just by leaving the asset and some networks in here to develop at a later point. Okay, cool. Oh, it's starting to develop a little bit now. And it's not starting to look too bad. So let's go ahead now and complete this sort of outer shell framing over this side with the 6-lane roads. And what I want to do with this one is really kind of let the shape of the road hug this grass line here. So we're preserving as much of that beach as possible for detailing and nightlife, etc. There we go. So it's now sort of completed the outer arterial shell, if you like, if we can refer to it as that. And I'd like to come in and sort of talk about some classic grid structure. So I think a lot of the times people hear grid and they almost kind of wince. They're like, oh no, I prefer much more organic road networks. But especially in vanilla, when you're playing without Find It or any kind of ploppable options, grids are your friend. Okay. So I'm going to start using the 4-lane road, which came with the updates from, was it Plazas? It was Plazas that brought some new road, wasn't it? Yes, I want to start bringing in the compact 4-lane road. And from one side of my network, so from one area of my one-way system, down into the new arterial shell, I'd like to have the road come in this way. We can see where the node isn't happy. So to fix this, we just want to break it, make sure we hit the road guideline, bring it down so it is level with the one we want it to snap into. Let's come ahead and grab that road again with the bicycle lanes. Is that the one? Yes, it is. There's a lot of new roads. It's very hard to keep track of them. Okay, there we go. That's back in now, isn't it? Yes, everyone's happy with that. So once I have that connection established from sort of inner frames to outer shell, if you like, if we can refer to it as that, I'd like to bring in a classic pattern and a variant and a theme of sort of 10 by 10 spaces. or at least multiples of 10, rather, is how I should say that. So I really want to use a compact road for this. As to which road I go for, I guess it's, we could carry on the cycling theme if we want. We do have a bunch of new cycling roads. Again, it's a lot of new roads, isn't it? It's so good. So fantastically good. Okay, so I also know that there is an opportunity here. How close can we get to this metro station? Yeah, so this new metro station that came with plazas will actually register a connection on the back side of it, so I definitely want to make sure the road sort of respects that, if you like. So I'm going to totally enclose the metro station because people will walk back and to here. So we're going to do that. We're going to use the treed road. And then what we can do here is come back down into maybe I think just I want a regular road. Yeah, I think almost like it's becoming too road spicy now, isn't it? There's so many different new roads. Yeah, just a plain simple road. That's all I'm after here. And then what I want to draw out off of the back of these roads is just simple patterns of 10, which we can see is a 400. What this will do is just create you lots of zoning squares that are 4x4 and spaces where you can back them in, so you get these very high density style grids, okay? So 10x10, again following that blue marker. Then we can bring them in, and we can do this several times. And what this will do, and now don't do this everywhere, I totally agree, you know, doing this all the time, as often as you can, is gonna make a very heavy grid city. But, you know, some occasional grids like this are welcome. Don't be afraid of them. To disperse them out. And this pattern, it can be shifted as well, you know, so rather than doing perfect increments of 10 here, why don't we do a 20 and then a 10? Okay, and then we can do a 10 off the back of this and hook it through. Not extend it up that way, or indeed extend it and then hook it back into the network if you want. And then you can just sort of, you know, bring in different variants of that 10, multiple of 10 sort of pattern, I guess, right? Let's do another 20 up here. We'll see if we can bring this one in as well. And then why don't we match up with that one there to that node, and then we can bring it down and back into one of the frames. So it's not always perfect grids like this. You can skip the occasional road and it will open up the zoning opportunities a little bit, create just a slightly different variant shape of that 10. Well, it's going to give you a lot of zoning opportunities and the ability to create very tightly packed in zonable squares, which is what's important for generating density in vanilla. You can see another opportunity for a little bit of it there as well. So we'll do that. That's going to be grand. Fantastic. Awesome. I think that's it just for keeping consistency. This sort of outer shell here will remain at the cycle lane with the trees. And then again, we can upgrade that into a tree of our choosing. So let's go ahead into some palms. Maybe try some of the vanilla trees, something not used before on a road. Why not maybe like a bit of bamboo? It's not for me. You guys could use it if you want. You could use it like that, okay? But it's starting to develop now. We're getting some larger zonable grid squares in here, which again, like I've said, is important for vanilla. You know, we do want to give these guys places to zone, places to live, etc. And then we're getting some larger, sort of chunkier network themes developing now with elevated structure coming in, thanks to the placement of a transport hub that our downtown can make use of. And then some internal elevated public transport through here as well. And don't forget, we've also got cycling littered all through this network, so very happy and very cyclable, which is good. Fantastic. So now you can just carry on bringing in these frames. I would like to reserve a little bit of green space somewhere, and I think this can be helped just by painting in a couple of temporary districts. So I'm going to bring in one in this space here, and I'm just going to sort of name this sort of Central Park. I don't want anything to the scale of like New York Central Park, but I definitely want some sort of open green space that is dominated by towers to sort of sit as part of the build. So, you know, factoring in ideas of that as well as you're sort of growing the city out can really help. So that's what I'm going to do there. You see now where another opportunity would arise to connect in our road network frames. So I'm going to go ahead and do this as well. Again, I'm going to stick with those measurements of 10 units. And we'll bring them back in. Hopefully you will just go straight into there. Yes, you will. And then looks like we can possibly line up some spaces here now, so we're getting that back-to-back tie-in again. Let's bring it up to there, and then we can just sort of have a look now where we want to divide up. Actually, it looks like we want to maybe go one more tile down, doesn't it? I think that's the best option there. Yeah, there we go. And then we could just carve up this space now to suit us as we wish. Let's go ahead and bring in some spaces there. And then just sort of keep spinning around, having a look at it, seeing what you think. Chisel it out into different shapes and sizes. Some cul-de-sac roads here would be welcome. Feel free to make sort of an entire one of these blocks pedestrianized. You know, that would be a really cool way of using a pedestrian area here, just to have it all pedestrian as it comes off of your main pedestrian spine, if that is indeed what you've chosen for your particular spine. You might have gone for monorail, it might be different, and that's okay. But either way, it is sort of slowly piecing together here now, isn't it? I think I'm pretty happy with it. So I'd like to tie off this sort of casing road that will probably spill into some sort of modern mid-century suburb out this way, I'm thinking. I'm thinking that's going to look really cool sat at the front of all these really new tall towers. And we might give a skyline preview today. I've kind of already tested what this new skyline looks like, and it's yeah, it's a secret blend of herbs and spices, I think. I'm very, very happy with it. So let's grab a new 6-lane road, and we don't need the trams here now, because the trams go back into the downtown at this point, so I'm very happy to extend my cycling infrastructure with one of the new 6-lane roads. So let's bring it down, keep it going. So this will now just go into suburbia, so just grab a big long piece of road and then just leave it off in the distance, say okay, this at some point will serve a direct connection into my high density. I'm going to be happy with that, that's going to be great. I'd also like to give them another connection back into this area over here, for which we're just using regular 4-lane road for right now. I think that's what I want to stick with, so we'll grab the 4-lane road with decorative trees and bicycle lanes. Do we want to do that? Yes, we will. We'll bring it down there. So we'll hook that one into that case as well. We can kind of see now how it gives us a new boundary for the downtown road network. So let's go ahead and start piecing those frames that we drew in a second ago into these spaces together now. We can see just because everything's nice and perfectly measured, we're getting lots of neat zonable spacing, which is just such a help in vanilla. Okay. Again, if you don't want it sort of perfect designs, break one off, allow a different shape to develop. Okay. Tremendous, wonderful. Let's not forget our elevated network, of course. Let's not neglect the metro. Let's go ahead and bring it over. Let's also go ahead and factor in another stop here now. So we're just going to have the metro lights going to come through the downtown, stop right in the heart of the towers. If the trams are serving the inner downtown and cycling is serving the very inner downtown, then the metro can, I guess, come off into the suburb now. And there's probably something quite fun we can do with the metro as we develop that suburb eventually. But let's go ahead and first of all plan in a new metro stop. It'd be good if we could have one of these. Would actually be really nice if we could place it somewhere along one of these, I wonder. Okay, let's go ahead and give it a try. Let's bring down this road to hold the station. And then we'll grab that content creator station, and we want it about there's perfect. Again, it's a choice of asset that's going to be very appropriate. Lots of modern glass is really going to blend in, and it also fits really nicely with the glass box train station as well. So, you know, some of them are a little bit more older looking, which might sort of break the vibe, so even worth considering the aesthetics of the public transport assets themselves as to whether or not it's going to be appropriate for your build. Now, please do let me know as well in the comments below as to whether or not you found this episode helpful. I did want to do just kind of a sort of a stream of consciousness today, if that makes sense, as to how we sort of plan out these much larger networks, and with all the new roads that have come in, I don't think there's a better time to do it, is there? Cool, there we go. So that's going to be another metro stop here, and then we can bring this off now. And what we can do is, because I think having the metro line here sort of elevated as it runs parallel with this downtown road, I don't think I'm really happy with that. So I'm going to bring in a little elevation to embank the road, or embank the network. So embanked networks are really powerful. They can create some really nice designs for suburbs to be based off of. Again, for those that have followed my channel for a while, we know that we like to bank a network now if we can. So just do a little bit of terraforming, just to gauge the height that we need to have the road set on, which is about here for me. But I don't want it banked all the way. We can actually do some bridges, there's nothing wrong with that. So let's bring out a road here, and we can snap it into this one now. So you just sort of see how they all start to interlink with each other as you start planning in these individual little network nuances, if you like. But either way, let's go ahead and get it all hooked in. You can see now where those roads just sort of want to be connected nicely. That's going to be good for me. And you can possibly see an opportunity again where we might want to repeat a theme of having the sort of metro station encased in sort of local road. And now we can bring out some little sort of local road networks in this space, and there's many little nuances, little parks, etc. where you can drop in service assets and stuff like that. It's all slowly pieces together. It's quite hard to describe how to do it in like one go, but I hope to seeing the process is somewhat helpful. There we go. So let's have that there. And then as it kind of leaves back into suburbia, and this metro station will now become embanked, or metro line should become embanked, I should say. And then as it grows, we'll add new metro stations into it. So really looking forward to doing like a metro themed modern mid-century suburb, because I really haven't used that pack at all on the channel yet. That last content creator one. So we'll definitely do something with that. But I'm just going to embank it, and then it can run out of town with my road. Okay, and you can do that with rail, whatever you want. Okay, do it with trams as well if you want to. Cool. But we're starting to see infrastructure and density develop, which is very much the flavour of the month, isn't it? Okay, so I've just spent 5 minutes or so looking at this space and deciding exactly what's going to happen with it. So, you know, we kind of, for me as well, it's not always a case of you look at it and I know exactly what it looks like. Sometimes you just need a little bit of time with it. So, we've got some train networks here. And of course, we don't really want rail crossings if we can help it. So, I'm just going to amend the spacing of this tunnel, first of all, okay? That connects people to the opposite side of the downtown across from the airport. I'm going to be happy with that, right? So, train lines here are going to take priority. We definitely want the train networks to look good. So again, I don't want to use too many nodes here, so I'm going to try and feed them all into each other so it looks somewhat sensible at least. So let's go for one for right there, and then we'll feed that one up into the next one. And if you've got the road tools, it makes it a lot neater here. These are not the greatest train junctions, but this won't be the busiest station in the world. So it should be able to cope with that, but it'll be okay. Okay, but that gives us the aesthetic of sort of multiple train lines coming out of downtown. I'd actually like to extend that one a little bit further, just so we get that kind of big aesthetic of a parallel network, which can be quite effective. Then I'd like to bring in the layer here that the tunnel sits on, and use it to encase the networks. Okay, so I'm going to do it like this. That's fine for me. Wonderful. Let's go ahead and bring up a little bit of embanking here. Only a touch of it. We can blend this in as well with kind of breakwater rocks, overgrowth and stuff. Lots of trees, etc. Natural detailing helps these sort of things blend in a little bit. Okay. Happy with that for the time being at least. Let's go ahead and get that tunnel reinstated again now. There we go. Yeah, so the embanking, it still makes it look like it goes underground, rather than sort of down into the earth, if you know what I mean. So I'm happier with that now. Now we can sort of soften out a lot of these terraformed areas as we begin to sort of blend it in a little bit. I don't want my airport fence to be elevated though. Let's push that back down. Okay. So this is alright. I'm relatively happy with this space so far. Let's now come in and grab that 6-lane road with bicycle lanes that we use in here that runs with the airport. So I'm thinking we can bring this up on a bridge and bring it over the rail lines, which is going to give us yet another layer of elevated transport infrastructure, another layer of height within the overall network plan itself, within your preparation for the frames before any builds come into the areas. Which is something I really strongly advise doing in cities, especially when you start to play with high density areas, is to plan out the frames first. It makes a world of difference into just letting the areas settle in a little bit more. So we're going to have this come up a hill, just sloping out a little bit, and then if at all possible, we're we're going to see if we can generate a bridge from some distance here. So let's see if we can come up. Yeah, we want to get that angle across. Maybe hitting a road guideline here might be helpful. Possibly there, if I may say so. Let's see what we think of that. It's plenty of clearance, isn't it? It's going to be happy enough. I think I'm on board with it. If you do have the patience in vanilla, what you could do is flood this sort of embankment here and put keys alongside it, which will make it look very nice. Also, key anarchy, if you're on the PC, will do the same thing. Yeah, so it's an option if you want to do it. So let's get this bridge back down to earth in a sensible fashion. We need to come back down 2 steps at a distance of 2420. I think that's going to be happy for me. And then with a road guideline now and a curve tool, and we can hit the guideline of the road, and then just bring this back in, and then just decide exactly where it wants to connect. That's going to be good for me. Wonderful. Very good plane spotting area here for any plane enthusiasts. Should be quite a nice spot. It's so nice to finally develop this side of the airport as well. It's been so ugly for so long. Cool. So we can now keep this elevation coming up here as well. And I really want to make sure that when I'm coming back down with this bridge, that I repeat the same measurement. Otherwise, it's going to look quite weird. So it was 2420 and it was down by 2 elevation steps. So we want to make sure we repeat that again as well. Okay. Then we've got a spot here now where it looks like it's going to perfectly sort of blend back into that sort of initial spine that we set up. So they're all slowly coming back in toward each other. That's going to be too tight though, isn't it? That's fine. Let's just do a curve here. And then we can bring that out. That can go down there. And then this road here won't have trams on it now. This will just be 6-lane regular, I think, for right now, until we decide if we want anything else down here. And then this will link in with our arterial roads that come from this side of the map. I just need to bring them through the hill. I'm going to do that in the D10 time-lapse because that's a lot of arsing about with terraforming to get it through the hill. But yes, basically just bring this road over here to hook in with this road frame. So we have 2 arterial connections into all the existing infrastructure over that side. And again, I can see here, there's another little spot for a little connection, again, from new to existing road frames. So let's just grab what's this one? 2-lane medium, grass medium, let's go for this one. Looks like we can bring it out. Give it a little bit of sort of jazz as well, right? A couple of little curves in there, road guidelines horrendously messing with us. And then we do want road guideline on for that penultimate connection. So bring us in, and wonderful. So again, it's another connection into existing infrastructure, into the new stuff. That's also working nicely. Again, you could bring the bridge off of this one across this way instead. There's many different varieties and sort of designs you can take it in. Okay, it's not all sort of like one size fits all. People will have different tastes and preferences. You might not be a fan of the layers. Okay, you know, it's the beauty of the game, isn't it? Everyone will enjoy playing it ever so slightly differently. And then we can just soften a lot of this out, bring in some rocks during our D10 time-lapse, of course. So yeah, there is train lines over here, which is intercity connections, so we can bring intercity trains into the downtown area over here. We've got a few dead people knocking about over this side of the map. Hopefully they will be taken care of. Otherwise, it's not a bad looking high density road network structure, is it? It certainly wants to be developed, but what a wonderful difference all of these brand new roads have made for developing a space like this. Big shout out to Colossal Lord for giving us free roads. It's always appreciated. And we can see some people move around it for the first time. Here come all the road maintenance boys. There they go. Yeah, just the possibilities that are available in vanilla now for all these roads. It's so good. So let's also do one more thing before we have a look at a D10 time-lapse today. And this is to have a look at the new trams, everyone. Yes, please. So let's go ahead and get a loop going. So with this tram network, I'm going to do sort of like a omnidirectional loop. So let's do a couple of stops here. I'm just going to keep them moving along the tram pedestrian road. A couple of stops along the sort of arterial casing. One more here again where it's going to stop near the metro. And then it can come back up to complete its loop. That's wonderful. Let's then grab the tram as it comes out of its house, which is going to need power for, isn't it? Yes, it is. Let's make sure we give it that then. And hopefully, as it comes out, there we go. Let's grab it, and I'm going to change its details. So again, the new tram models are showcased in the video on the channel, but there's so many cool new ones now. And I think because we're high density, let's go for the 140 capacity tram. That was so nice. Let's make it white as well. But just so much more realistic tram models. We can see how they move across the new tram roads here. Let's watch them come onto the pedestrian road, hopefully. There they go, they're going to merge across the intersection. Oh, when he gets there anyway. There we go. Look at that for a vanilla intersection, everyone. Looks so more important, doesn't it? So much more high density. We've got 2 of the new roads, oh, 3 of the new roads, 4 of the new roads even. Yeah, there's 4 new roads and then the pedestrian ones. So wonderful to see everyone. Really, really happy with those. Fantastic. So again, we're going to do another line going the opposite way. So there's 2 trams looping around downtown constantly, which will move people back and to between all the unique buildings that will be here, alongside converging with an intercity connection in the form of the train station at some point as well. Again, we want to make sure we grab the line as it comes out. We'll change it again to the 140 capacity tram. We'll make this one black. So we've got like a monochromatic sort of thing going on with the line colourings here. And there we go. He will merge onto his line now, and then we should just have a happy little tram network that it all staggers out and develops. So exciting things to come, everyone. The vanilla game has become significantly more powerful with these new roads, and with all the DLCs and content creator packs now. Vanilla is an experience. It really is. I'm very happy as a vanilla player. But otherwise, it does feel like a good place for a very brief detailing time-lapse. So like I mentioned, I'm just going to bring in those other connections now. It's going to be pretty boring watching me do a road through here. And then we can develop some more suburban space out here in future episodes, of course. It's nice to see some development in this side of Noob Yoke, and we haven't really touched it at all. And we can see, you know, we're much bigger than the initial downtown spaces here as well. So it should be interesting. It should be really interesting to see what happens with it. Yes, get the trains moving as well. Hopefully some intercity boys will come in and drop some people off. Get the metro flowing also. And then just upgrade some trees, refine some networks, bring in some plaza spaces just so we can sort of see some people actually come here and use it during our cinematics, of course. But just generally tie up the downtown space and prepare it for all the traffic that's about to come into it. But either way, let's detail up our high density road network frame, and then we'll be right back. Alright guys, let's have a little detailing review, shall we? So over in the train station here, I brought in the train line. I crossed it over the road. Again, you know, we can use pedestrian crossings. They do have their place. They do have to be well placed though, in order for them to be functional and not cause a vast amount of traffic. So this bleeds off into the airport train station, and we're actually using the airport train transfer model here, which is very appropriate. So it's just like a little shuttle that takes people back and to from the airport into the downtown. This has hit 120 a week already, this station, and there's no one here yet, so I'm really happy to see that happening. We are also receiving intercity trains on 2 platforms on this station, which is really nice. So plenty of tourists just choosing to come and take this line in and out of the downtown already. So we've brought in some fencing, of course, drops that intercity bus station. A little bit of sort of prep work with the greenbelt space, you know, sort of, I find sort of alongside prepping the road network, planning where you would like some greenery in with that as well is often quite helpful for me. So just a little bit of hedge work, line out with some trees against kind of the major arterial frames here. Just help the things to settle in a little bit more. And I have to say, I'm an enormous lover of having the airport as a backdrop to a real high density area like this. From the old downtown, you don't really get the impression of the airport because it's kind of blocked behind all the terminals. You can obviously tell it's there, but do you know what I mean? I hope I'm explaining that right. I think you can't quite get the impression. But from this side of downtown, we're now sort of getting a very different aesthetic, and big fan of it. I haven't really played with that idea before. Also dropped in a new underground metro station, which connects into a deadline that comes out of the dual platform stations that are connected into this plazas and promenade station. So again, just another method back and to across the airport to get over here. Also dropped in a couple of different service assets and parks just so we can see people come to these areas and see the road network a little bit more active, which is nice. But of course next week we will come in to develop the second part, the brand new super financial district high-rise sort of build of Noob Yoke's Skyline using the Skyscrapers content creator pack. Make sure you tune in for that. It's a really fun episode. But this area here, I'd just like to point out like what a wonderful little road network this looks like now, thanks to plazas and promenades and the new roads that have come in. We can just create so much more interesting networks in vanilla these days, and I really can't wait to get like a proper bustling downtown all around these areas. It's going to look fantastic, I think, once it's all done, especially I think with all our layers that are crisscrossing over here as well. And then just extended some of those very basic grid patterns, sticking in those multiples of 10, which of course are going to make us very friendly for vanilla zoning in this sort of style. Okay, so sticking with them will allow us to sort of develop a little bit of outer lying suburbia and allow us to descend away from that new skyline, which will of course appear next week. Where we have been working with this little layer of elevated terrain, which we've used to hide the rail line and the tunnel. I've come in with some sort of rock patterns, things that we've done before, just to help blend them in, and then lots of wild grass and live oaks along the top of them, and it's settled in really nicely. Really nice way of integrating an organic looking tunnel into a road network alongside a bridge as well, I think. And you can get a real nice spice sample there, can't you, of the trains coming in and out, and then people coming from the tunnel as well. And of course, once there's things over here like buildings and assets, unique buildings, etc., you know, this will all get busier, of course. And then there's many things we can do along the beach. If you do have any more requests for kind of inner city specific builds, get them in the comments below, because we can definitely feature them in this part. And then we've got lots of open space here to develop perhaps more pedestrian builds directly out the front of our glassbox train station here as the plane comes into land. There's some really nice kind of like airport viewing opportunities along this road now. And of course we'll get zoning on here as well and decorate it all up come the end. But I hope you've kind of enjoyed today's episode. It's a little bit of a different one when we do road network frames. And I know I do get a lot of comments saying that people do tend to struggle with planning road networks, so I hope today's kind of flow of consciousness as to how I do it is somewhat helpful. You know, you start with that spine. Make sure your spine is based around public transport as well. That's something that really helps reduce your traffic numbers. It's just having public transport integrated with the road network rather than leaving it as an afterthought. So, you know, I've got my trams here now, my metro, so tram and metro are going to entirely support this downtown district. You know, and then those two methods of public transport feed into links into larger methods like the airport over here, which of course goes across the rest of the map. And then there's 3 intercity connections here as well, because there's trains coming in on 2 platforms, and then we've got the intercity buses as well, which are making use of our pedestrian roads now. So we can see they cut across the one-way system. They're going to come right across our tram pedestrian road, and then they're going to join up and hopefully head back out of the city into the one-way system, and then they'll of course head back out. And then these roads actually leave the new downtown road network frames just meander quite tastefully along this bay, and I'm really looking forward to building something in this little bay here. It's kind of, you know, perfect bay vibes, isn't it? We can get some nice little builds around here, perhaps a hotel or something like that. And then they both just tunnel under the mountain at various different points, and then emerge out the other side before linking back in with the rest of Noob Yoke's networks, which of course are yet to be developed properly out this side, but at least it gives them a connection for right now, and we finally have some developments on this side of the map. But otherwise, guys, that is going to do it for today. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. If you've enjoyed it, likes, comments and shares below really do help me out and bring more people to the channel. As much if you haven't enjoyed it, please feel free to leave a dislike as well. Like I said today, I hope it's helpful seeing these road networks piece up. I know it's a lot more important planning these road networks for higher density areas. So yeah, really looking forward to getting stuck in next week when we'll be building a new skyline, which is always so good. Love putting skylines together. And I didn't think we'd be doing another one in Noob Yoke because we didn't have the skyscrapers pack announced until only a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? So yeah, really excited to get involved with a new skyline, but please do enjoy some brief cinematics, and I'll see you all next week for a really fun build. Otherwise, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.